The stars were silent, endless black stretching forever, the human exploration ship. Orion's light drifted slowly near an uncharted moon. Its surface was gray, cracked and forgotten by time. No star map had ever marked it, no alien record had ever spoken of it, yet here it was, waiting as if hiding something. Captain Elias stood at the viewing deck, his hands behind his back, his eyes locked on the strange rock below. Something about the place felt wrong. It was quiet, too quiet, like a whisper before a storm. The scanners showed no life, no structures, no reason to care. But deep inside the barren dust, there was a signal, a pulse, faint, repeating like a heartbeat. "Sir," said Lieutenant Mara, her voice tense, "we are picking up something strange. It looks like a structure buried under the surface." The crew leaned forward, tension growing. No one expected anything here, yet the moon was calling them in. The ship lowered its shuttle. 3 figures walked across the gray dust. The ground crunched under their boots, each step echoing in the emptiness. The signal grew louder, guiding them to a lonely ridge, and then they saw it, a stone, tall and cracked, half buried, carved with marks no alien language carried. It was human, not just human, it was a grave. The crew froze. A grave on a world where no human had ever been. The stone was simple, yet the symbol was clear. It carried the mark of Earth, a symbol of a soldier's sacrifice. Mara knelt, brushing the dust away. Her hand trembled as words appeared. The letters were faint but readable. "In honor of the fallen, may their rest protect the living." The silence around them grew heavier. It felt like the stars themselves were holding their breath. "Who buried this here?" whispered one of the crew. "No records of humans reaching this place," replied Elias, his voice low. "And yet this grave exists." As they two was to shed the stone, the ground shook. A hidden mechanism awakened. A deep hum vibrated under the soil. The dust lifted, the air rippled, and suddenly a beacon shot upward into the sky, a signal so bright and powerful that it pierced the void of space. Back on the ship, alarms screamed. "Unknown transmission," the AI warned, broadcasting across the galaxy. The crew stared at one another, fear clear in their eyes. What had they just woken up thousands of light years away? Alien empires caught the signal. In great halls of power, alien leaders turned pale. They recognized the sound. It was the signal of an old nightmare, an ancient warning. Legends whispered of it, but no one believed it until now. "The humans have found one," said a scaled creature, its voice shaking. "The grave," whispered another. "The forgotten ones are waking." In the council chambers of the Andari Empire, panic spread. They knew what graves meant. Where humans buried their dead, battles always followed. It was a truth feared for centuries. And now, the nightmare had returned. Back on the moon, the humans watched the beacon cut through the stars. "Captain," Mara said, fear in her voice, "this is not just a grave, it's a message." Elias nodded slowly, his face pale. "Yes," he whispered, "and now the whole galaxy has heard it." The crew debated. Should they leave, destroy the grave, or guard it? But before a choice could be made, long-range scanners lit up. Dozens of alien fleets were moving, all heading in one direction, the forgotten grave. Inside the ship, tension grew heavier by the second. The crew understood the truth. They had not just found a grave, they had opened a door. And now something far greater than them was coming. Elias gripped the console, his voice steady but cold. "Prepare the ship, prepare the weapons, the war will come here above this grave." The stars outside shimmer, it as if waiting. The silence before the storm was ending, and humanity once again stood at the edge of something they could not control. The beacon did not fade. It pulsed again and again, echoing across the stars. Every empire, every species, every hidden outpost felt it in their bones. It was not just a signal, it was a reminder, a shadow from the past now awakened. In the grand chamber of the Zayar Dominion, leaders gathered. The room was carved from crystal, glowing with cold blue light, but no beauty could hide their fear. The high speaker rose, his scales trembling. "This signal should never have been heard again," he whispered. "The humans have touched a grave." The chamber fell silent. The younger generals shifted uncomfortably, not understanding. But the elders remembered the old stories, tales of human graves scattered across forgotten worlds, each one a curse, each one a spark of war. "Are the legends true?" asked one commander. "That where humans bury their dead, the stars themselves tremble?" An elder hissed, his eyes narrowing. "Yes," he said, "because humans never bury ordinary soldiers. They bury warriors whose deaths carried storms." Across the galaxy, in the Andari Empire, panic was no less. The Council of Seven sat in a circle of firelight, each face tense. "Destroy the grave before it is too late," shouted one. "Attack the humans now while they are unprepared," demanded another. But one voice, softer, wiser, broke through. "No, if we strike too quickly, we awaken what sleeps beneath the soil." Meanwhile, on the human ship Orion's Light, fear grew heavy. Mara paced the bridge, her eyes fixed on the stars. "Captain, alien fleets are moving, dozens of them, all converging here." Elias nodded grimly. He had expected this. The grave was no secret anymore. Now it was a battlefield waiting to be claimed. In the darkness of space, shadows moved. Alien spies boarded small stealth craft, sliding through the void. Their mission was clear: reach the grave, learn its secrets, and erase it. Before humanity could unlock it, on the moon, strange winds began to rise. Dust swirled around the grave, though there was no air to move it. The stone trembled, as if something below was waking. Mara felt a chill creep through her spine. "This place is alive," she whispered. Elias said nothing, but his hand rested on his weapon. Even he felt it. The grave was not just stone, it was a lock, and something inside was waiting for a key. Back in the alien council, fear turned into anger. "The humans are dangerous," cried one leader, slamming a clawed fist onto the table. "They are too young, too reckless. They will awaken the dead." Another leaned forward, voice low. "Then let us awaken them first, on our terms." The room shivered at the thought. To awaken a grave was madness, but to let humans control it was worse. On Earth, far from the grave, High Command listened to the signal. Admirals sat in silence, their eyes sharp. One of them spoke slowly. "We do not know who is buried there, but this soldier, whoever they were, carried our mark, carried our honor." Another answered, "If aliens fear this grave, then we must protect it at any cost." As fleets began to move across the galaxy, one truth became clear. The forgotten grave was no longer forgotten. It was the center of fear, of war, of destiny. And in the cold silence of that gray moon, the ground cracked, the beacon grew brighter, and a sound echoed faintly from below. A voice, soft yet strong, carried through the dust. "I guarded humanity once, and I will guard them again." Mara stumbled back, eyes wide. "Captain, did you hear that?" Elias's face hardened. "Yes," he whispered. "And if the galaxy is afraid, they are right to be afraid." The grave was no longer just a stone, it was a promise. And promises like this always came with fire. The galaxy did not wait. Whispers turned into orders, and orders turned into fleets. Dozens of alien warships cut through the void, their weapons charged, their banners glowing with hate. They were not coming to talk. They were coming to erase the grave, and with it, humanity. On the bridge of Orion's Light, alarms screamed. "Multiple signals inbound," Mara cried, her hands shaking over the console. Captain Elias stood tall, his jaw hard. "Put the fleet on alert," he commanded. "They are here." Outside, the stars flickered as alien vessels emerged, sleek blades of metal, massive carriers, destroyers built to crush worlds. The first strike had begun. Without a word, beams of fire ripped across the darkness, aiming at the human ship. The shields flared, sparks rained across the bridge. The crew stumbled but held their ground. "Return fire," Elias ordered. Cannons roared, missiles streaked through space, explosions blossomed like dying stars. The war had come to the grave. Down on the moon's surface, the grave trembled with each blast. Dust shook, cracks widened, the stone glowed faintly with hidden power. It was as if the grave itself was waking, responding to the chaos above. An alien strike team landed near the ridge, moving fast, weapons raised. Their mission was clear: destroy the stone, bury its secret forever. But as they approached, the ground split open. From beneath the grave rose a chamber, ancient metal shining under the moonlight. Inside lay relics, weapons of a design no alien had ever seen, weapons that belonged only to humans. Mara gasped, staring at the live feed. Captain, look, the grave is not just a tomb, it's an armory. Elias's eyes widened. So this is what they feared, he whispered. The alien soldiers opened fire on the chamber, but the relics reacted, glowing with light, pulsing with energy. One weapon, shaped like a spear of fire, rose into the air by itself. It shot forward, cutting through the alien squad, leaving nothing but silence. Panic spread across the alien fleet. Reports came in. The grave is active. The weapons are awake. Commanders, outed, captains hesitated. For centuries they had feared this moment, and now it was real. On Earth, High Command watched through secure channels. What we thought was a grave is something more, one admiral said, his face pale. It is not just a memory. It is a vault, a warning left for us. Back in orbit, the battle grew fiercer. Alien ships tried to surround Orion's light, but the human fleet fought with desperation. Every explosion shook the moon. Every strike fed the grave's awakening. The beacon grew brighter, the ground cracked wider, and then, from the chamber, a crystal floated upward, glowing like a small sun. Mara whispered, her voice trembling. Captain, it looks like a memory core. Elias narrowed his eyes. Bring it aboard, he ordered. Whatever was inside, it might be the key. The shuttle retrieved the crystal under heavy fire. As it touched the human ship, the systems flickered. The AI voice trembled as if afraid. Data incoming, identity confirmed, forgotten warrior recognized. The crew leaned closer, hearts pounding. A hologram appeared in the center of the bridge, a soldier in old human armor, battle-scarred, his eyes burning with determination. His voice thundered. If you have found this grave, then the stars are at war again. These weapons are yours now. Use them well, for enemies will come and they will not stop. The bridge fell silent. The message was not a ghost, it was a command, a dead soldier giving life to a new war. Elias clenched his fists. This is why they fear us, he whispered, not because of the living, but because even our dead still fight. Outside, alien ships regrouped for another strike. The sky burned with fire, the grave pulsed with power, and the war above the forgotten grave had only just begun. The hologram burned bright on the bridge. The soldier's figure stood tall, his armor cracked, his face scarred, but his voice unbroken. He was not a ghost, he was a memory, left behind for a future he somehow knew would come. My name is Commander Auric Vale, the hologram spoke, his words heavy with fire. If you see this, it means the galaxy is in danger again. I fought in a war you will not find in your records. A war erased, a war hidden, a war humanity was never meant to remember. The crew listened in silence. Even the hum of the ship felt muted, as if space itself bowed to his words. Elias's jaw tightened. What war? He whispered, almost to himself. The hologram continued. Long ago, before your councils, before your empires, humanity faced the alien races you now call rulers. We were not weak, we were not silent. We fought them and we made them bleed, but they could not kill us, so they buried the truth instead. They erased the records, they destroyed the stories, they left only graves, graves like this one, hidden, waiting, guarded by silence. Mara's eyes widened. So the legends are true, she breathed. The aliens feared us once. The soldier's image flickered, but his voice grew sharper. They will fear you again. These weapons are not gifts, they are reminders, tools left by those who refuse to bow. If you carry them, you carry our fight, and our fight never ends. The crystal pulsed and released data into the ship's systems, blueprints of forgotten weapons, codes of strategies older than any alien empire, maps of hidden graves scattered across the stars, each one a sleeping fire waiting to burn. The crew gasped, their screens filling with secrets lost for centuries. The galaxy was not what it seemed. The aliens had not always ruled. Once humans had stood as equals, maybe even greater, but as the truth spread, the danger grew. Alien fleets outside tightened their formation. They too knew the name, Auric Vale. To them, he was not a hero. He was a nightmare, a warrior who had broken their armies, who had planted fear deep in their bloodlines, and now, even dead, he had returned. On the moon, the chamber beneath the grave shifted again. The stone cracked fully open, revealing a coffin of metal. Inside lay Orcs armor, black and silver, still glowing faintly as if alive. An energy core pulsed in its chest, a heart that refused to stop. Alien spies who had landed near the grave froze. One whispered, voice shaking, "The armor still breathes." Before they could act, the armor lit with fire, and a wave of force hurled them into the dust. The grave was no longer just a memory, it was a shield. On the bridge of the Andari Empire, panic turned to fury. "They cannot unlock the others," shouted one leader. "If humanity awakens more graves, the balance will shatter. We will lose everything." The council slammed their fists. "Then destroy them now, burn the humans before it is too late." But not all voices agreed. Some alien leaders whispered in secret, "If humans once ruled, if they once fought even stronger than today, perhaps we should not fight them, perhaps we should kneel." Back on Orion's light, Elias clenched his fists. He could feel the weight of destiny pressing on his shoulders. This was bigger than his ship, bigger than his crew. This was about truth buried for centuries, and the moment it was revealed, the galaxy was set on fire. The hologram of Auric Vale looked at them one last time. His voice softened but did not break. "Remember this, humanity does not fall. Even in death, we rise again." The image faded, leaving only silence. But in that silence was power. The crew exchanged glances, hearts burning. They were no longer explorers, no longer wanderers. They were guardians of a legacy too heavy to ignore. Above the moon, alien fleets charged weapons. The first strike had failed, but the war had only begun. And now, with secrets revealed and fear spreading, the battle for the forgotten grave would decide the fate of the Stone. The sky above the forgotten moon burned. Alien fleets circled like predators, their ships glowing with fire, their weapons humming with deadly light. They had come not just to win, but to erase, to silence, to bury the truth again. On Orion's light, the crew stood ready. Captain Elias's voice cut through the chaos, steady but sharp. "Hold the line, protect the grave. Humanity must not lose this battle." Mara's fingers flew across the controls. "Sir, 3 destroyers moving in from the east. Heavy fire incoming." The ship shook as blasts tore across the shields. Sparks rained over the bridge. Alarms screamed. But the crew did not falter. They knew what was at stake. Down on the moon, the grave shone brighter than ever. The chamber around Auric Vale's armor trembled. Glowing symbols spread across the ground like veins of fire. The air vibrated with unseen power. It was as if the grave itself was alive, defending, waiting, breathing. Then it happened. A deep roar echoed through the void, though no mouth had spoken it. The armor of Auric Vale lifted from the coffin, suspended in light. Its chest burned with energy, its visor lit with fire. The voice of the Guardian AI thundered across every channel. "Auric Vale still stands, and no enemy shall pass this grave." Alien fleets froze for a heartbeat. Some captains trembled, remembering the old stories their ancestors had whispered. The warrior who never lost. The soldier who even in death refused surrender. And now his presence filled the stars once more. The armor raised its hand, and weapons from the chamber answered. Blades of light, cannons of energy, relics of ancient human power rose into the air. They did not rust. They did not weaken. They had waited for this moment. The first volley fired. Alien ships exploded in a storm of fire, torn apart by weapons they had no defense against. Cheers erupted on the human bridge. But Elias did not smile. His eyes were cold. "This is only the beginning," he whispered. "For every ship we destroy, more will come." Indeed, the Fupushoi Oid burned brighter. Dozens of new fleets dropped from warps surrounding the moon. The galaxy had chosen this grave as the place of decision. It was no longer a forgotten stone. It was the center of war, the spark of destiny. Inside the alien council, panic grew. "The weapons are awake," cried one commander. "They will spread to other graves, to other worlds." Another shouted in desperation. "Then this moon must be destroyed. The grave, the humans, everything, burn it to ash." Massive supercarriers turned their weapons to the moon, beams charged, power cores glowing hotter than suns. If they fired, the moon would shatter, the grave lost forever. On Orion's light, Mara's voice cracked. Captain, they are preparing a planet killer strike. Elias's heart pounded. If the moon fell, the truth would be buried again. But then the Guardian AI's voice filled the ship, calm and fierce. Do not fear. Auric Vale does not stand alone. The grave pulsed once more, and a wave of energy swept across space. Hidden satellites long forgotten, buried in silence, awakened. Human technology lost for centuries roared back to life. A wall of fire erupted, blocking the alien supercarriers. Their weapons sputtered, their beams cut short, their systems fried. The crew gasped. It's a defense grid, Mara whispered, eyes wide, left behind by Auric himself. Alien fleets howled with rage. They charged again, pouring everything they had. The sky turned into a storm of fire, explosions blooming like red suns, ships colliding, weapons tearing space itself. But the humans stood their ground, the grave shining brighter with every heartbeat, and through the chaos, the Guardian AI spoke once more. This battle is not about ships, not about fleets. It is about truth. The galaxy buried it, but now the grave speaks, and humanity will not be silenced again. The war above the grave raged, and every blast, every scream, every explosion carried one truth. The galaxy would never be the same. The battlefield above the grave was chaos. Explosions lit the void like dying stars. Ships burned and shattered, the screams of war echoing through the channels. Human vessels fought with desperation, but for every alien ship destroyed, two more appeared. The galaxy had united in fear of humanity's dead rising again. Captain Elias gripped the console, sweat on his brow. Mara, status, he barked. Her voice shook but did not break. Shields at 30%, ammunition low, multiple hull breaches. The crew felt the weight of doom pressing in, but still they fought. Then the grave pulsed once more, brighter than ever. The light spread across the moon, climbing into space like a wave. Alien weapons flickered, systems died, entire cruisers shut down mid-flight. The Guardian AI's voice thundered, calm yet unstoppable. You thought death silenced us, but death only made us eternal. From the ancient chamber, more relics awakened. Ships long buried under the moon's crust began to rise. Black and silver vessels, sharp like blades, glowing with forgotten energy. They were not new, they were old. Older than any alien empire, ships from a war erased from history, now reborn. The human fleet stared in awe as dozens of ancient warships joined their side. Mara's voice broke with disbelief. Sir, those ships, they are human. Elias's chest tightened, his eyes burning. Auric Vale's fleet, he whispered. They were buried with him, waiting for this moment. The alien armadas panicked. Their admirals screamed orders, but fear cracked their discipline. No record said these ships still existed, one shouted. Destroy them before more awaken, cried another. But it was too late. The black ships moved like shadows, cutting through the enemy with precision. Their weapons ignored shields, their armor withstood blasts. Every volley tore holes through the alien fleets. For the first time in centuries, the tide turned. On alien homeworlds, fear spread like fire. Citizens watched the broadcasts in silence. The graves they had mocked, the stories they had laughed at, now stood before them in burning truth. The humans had not only returned, they had never truly left. Inside the Andari council chamber, leaders shouted in despair. We cannot stop them. If one grave holds this power, what about the others? What happens when they awaken every fallen warrior? Some slammed the table, demanding final strikes. Others bowed their heads, voices low. Perhaps it is time we remember who truly rules the stars. Back above the grave, Elias felt the momentum shift. Enemy fleets began to scatter, their perfect formations broken by fear. Some ships turned and fled, unwilling to face Auric Vale's shadow. But the largest carriers still pushed forward, desperate to crush the humans before the truth spread further. The Guardian AI's voice roared again. You cannot erase us. You cannot bury us. Every grave is a flame, and together they will burn your empires to ash. The alien carriers charged their final weapons, massive cannons aimed directly at the moon. If they could not win the battle, they would end it by destroying the grave entirely. Mara's voice cracked. Captain, they are preparing to fire all of them. Elias's heart pounded. If the moon fell, humanity would lose its first victory. But before he could speak, the ground shook once more. The coffin of Auric Vale's armor rose higher, light pouring from its chest. The AI spoke. But this time, it was not just code. It was his voice. Alive, strong, unbroken. I fought once. I will fight again. The armor moved, not as memory, but as if the warrior himself had returned. Weapons rose at his command. The relic fleet aligned behind him, and with a roar that shook the stars, they unleashed a storm of fire. Alien carriers shattered, their superweapons sharsen. I lensed, their fleets broken, the turning tide had come. Humanity, armed with its forgotten past, now stood unshaken, and across the galaxy whispers began to spread. The humans cannot be killed, not by war, not by time, not even by death. The stars above the moon were no longer silent. They burned with the wreckage of alien fleets, their twisted hulks drifting like shadows of defeat. Where once the galaxy's empires had gathered with confidence, now only fear remained. The war above the forgotten grave had changed everything. On Orion's light, the crew stood in awe. Screens glowed with victory reports, alien signals of retreat filling every channel. Mara's eyes shimmered with tears, her voice unsteady. "Sir, they are falling back. They are running from us." Captain Elias did not smile. His gaze was locked on the grave below. "This was not just a battle," he said quietly. "This was a message." The grave pulsed one final time, softer now, almost gentle. The coffin of Auric Vale's armor lowered back into the chamber, but the guardian AI's voice lingered strong and steady. "You have seen what they tried to bury. You have felt the strength they tried to erase. Remember this. Humanity does not rest in the ground. Every grave is a vow. Every fallen soldier is a promise." The words struck deep in the hearts of the crew. They understood now. The grave was not only a resting place, it was a beacon, a symbol that no matter how much the galaxy feared them, humanity would never fade. Across alien homeworlds, panic turned into whispers. Children asked their elders about the old stories. Leaders spoke in hushed voices, their confidence broken. The people remembered the warnings of their ancestors. "Do not anger the humans, for even their dead will rise against you." In the Andari Council chamber, the 7 leaders argued. Some demanded more war, others begged for peace. One voice broke through, trembling yet sharp. "If one forgotten grave can summon this storm, how many more lie hidden?" The room fell silent, the thought too heavy. If more graves existed, then the galaxy's empires were already doomed. Back on Earth, High Command watched the reports in silence. An admiral leaned forward, his voice low. "The truth is out. We were never weak. We were never small. They erased our history because they feared it." Another answered, "And now they will fear us again." But deep in the chamber of the grave, the light shifted. The crystal flickered with a new pattern, unlocking one final message. The hologram of Auric Vale appeared once more, his eyes burning with fire. "If you hear this, know that I was not alone. I was one of many. 1,000 of us fought. 1,000 of us fell. And 1,000 graves wait across the stars." The bridge froze. The crew's breath caught in their throats. Mara whispered, her voice trembling. 1,000 graves. Elias's eyes darkened. This war was never about one soldier. This was only the beginning. Far away, on distant, forgotten worlds, faint beacons began to pulse, one by one, across the galaxy. Other graves woke from silence, soft lights rising from the soil, signals piercing through the void. Every empire saw them, every ruler trembled. The humans were not rising from one grave, they were rising from many. The final message thundered across space. "You tried to bury us, but we are the storm, and the storm has returned." The stars seemed to shiver, the galaxy itself holding its breath, for the age of silence was over, and the age of humanity was only just beginning.